was born in Columbus, Ohio. My mother was murdered when I was 7. My family took me in. My grandmother and grandfather took us in around that age. I was introduced to hip hop through an uncle. I was introduced to rap music through an uncle. My uncle was also into graffiti. I was interested in graffiti, so he had trace paper and other materials around the house, and I would try to emulate through the trace paper what the graffiti artists were doing, but I could never capture what they were doing, so I had to find my way. Long story short, my grandfather was a blues man, so I would play along with him. He actually recorded one of my first recordings when I was a kid, and they had it on tape. But I digress. So when it comes to art, my mother was very encouraging about my artwork. My teachers were very encouraging. My grandmother, she didn't understand it, but to me it was more therapeutic, and I noticed I had a natural knack for it. Music as well. Not having a lot of toys and certain things growing up added to my imaginative skills and helped me broaden my imagination. I always had imaginary friends. I always had my own. I was always introverted. I left home at 16. By 20-something, I was in New York City. I discovered that having a major record deal is not what it was, because I was talking to people who worked at record labels, and they told me, you think out the box too much. You have to be a product if you want to be signed. I didn't want to do that. So I just kept it up. Traveled, went to Miami, got introduced to Wynwood Arts, became a resident artist in Miami and Little Haiti. The 501c3 that was there is no longer there, but it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. I had a documentary that wound up being the official screening for A3C, which is a hip hop convention in Atlanta, Georgia, way before I got there, so people got a chance to hear my story besides my music. So upon that, I also ventured into getting into art toys. I was always trying to figure out how they paint them, how they make them. And years went by. We fast forward now I'm in Atlanta, it's quarantine, and I just started studying the art of the art toy. So my paintings actually were initially for a portfolio for Richard Beaver's gallery in Brooklyn. And they told me to send them some portfolio work. And so I was working on that, and there was a lot of stuff going on. So when she called me about this, I said, you know what? I've already put texture on these paintings, I already put sculpture. I want to bring them out more. Let me put resin, because resin is also part of art toys, like when you cast your figures or do jewelry, use resin. So I wanted to still work with the materials, even though I wasn't making art toys at the present moment. So I said, let me just go ahead and combine everything together so I can get a feel of it. So I can present something you can look at and talk about, as well as I'm still learning about. And I just continue to grow, that's it. Looking at different art forms, Impressionism, how to combine Impressionism with graffiti, how to combine sculpture with this, what I can take that was done that was great and make it even better and transform it into my own language. So, that's me. Just a kid with a paintbrush or a
So, and his artworks are here in the entrance space.
And what is art toys?
Art toys. So ARTTOYS. You can look them up. Kid Robot. Super Classic is another company. So what happens is they find a street artist. That's an art toy itself. I got that from Louisville. And I painted it. It was pink and blue, but I painted it, and that's what came out. I was kind of inspired by the crystal skulls of mine, so that's how it came out. And then I want to give like a little skeletal horror aesthetic to it, so that's why I put the paint like that, kind of make it look like moss and decay. But art toys, they find street artists who have a name, like Ron English or somebody, and they come up with a theme, and they present different figures or paintings to go along with the toy itself. So it's a huge thing. The guy that started Kid Robot, the company, he went to Japan and saw that they had these obscure figures and t-shirts in the stores. And he said, this would be a great idea to bring to the States. And it just took off. you know. So you started as a kid robot in the mid-2000s, and it just trickled. Everybody was jumping on it, you know. So, but I didn't jump on it at the time because I didn't have a full understanding of how they do this, how they do that. It just was really interesting. Like, how do you paint something like that? So many curves, so many dents, so many this, you know, because it's not like a flat surface.
Right, 3D.
Well, could you explain your process? Like, do you start with a traditional canvas? What's the?
Yeah, I start on canvas. First things first, a lot of times it doesn't come out how I started it or I think about it. Sometimes it comes from thought. So what happens is I'll draw it, what I feel onto the canvas,
Okay.
and then the paints will come. And I'll say I'll use this color to complement this color. And then eventually a whole mood and feel will come. But with these, it was more or less like, wow, you know, she called, Mrs. Scott called, so I was like, all right, let me bring my best A game. Because that, I wanted to still keep that portfolio type of feel. That's why I pushed it like I pushed it.
So is that oil, acrylic?
No, it's actually acrylic,
Acrylic?
paint marker, marker, Sharpie, mixed media paper.
Mixed media
There's
paper.
mixed media papers in there. And the one over here, far right, it's mixed media paper. The pictures of the characters you see are actually drawn on mixed media paper and pasted to the canvas.
Oh, okay, okay. And what about the dimensional lines that you've added, like for the lips?
Oh, that's marker. Marker and paint. That's marker and paint, and it's also air dry clay. So I was kind of experimenting with sculpting too.
And then you put the resin over the whole thing.
After I paint it, and after it's like fully dry. The cool thing I like about resin is even when your paint is wet, you can do some cool stuff once it's dry. If you put resin on top of a nice amount of wet paint, and when it drips, it'll give you a nice effect, and it can bring a nice feel to it. I like to watch it just drip because it brings like a soothing flow. So,
Yeah, very, really, you can really read into them with a lot of depth.
Yeah, it's very dimensional.
thank you, thank you,
Yeah, thank you for
thank you.
answering